Today we're actually going to be talking about something positive for once. Technological advancements in the 90s. Now, as a person, specifically we're going to talk about, mostly the Western world. Because the Eastern world, yeah. I'll give you an example. Vietnam, my parents didn't have color TV until the early 2000s. So I think you can get the point, alright? You get the gist. Now, Western world, alright. Back then, internet didn't exist, right? There was no Wi-Fi, no PC, no personal computer. There were personal computers, but not those PCs, right? And they weren't actually pretty good, right? Nowadays, we have phones or stuff that are stronger than their average computer back in the day. Not so much heavier, so only at your house. And if you can't carry it, well, leave it there. That's the point. Now, the internet was actually invented long before 1990s, but mostly it was a government use thing, alright? Like, the government used it. So I didn't get the gist, alright? It was a government. Now, internet, back in the day, well, letters were the only way to send something, or by word, by, oral. So, but nowadays, I don't have to write a letter. I don't have to, make a phone call that costs money. I can just write an email for free, and they can chat back to me for free in like 5 to 10 minutes to check the notifications, which is crazy. Considering back then I had to cost money to talk to someone on the phone. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big step. And of course, not about technology, alright? Space. Now, in the late 1980s specifically, the U.S. and the Soviet Union made Mir, the first ISS, International Space Station. However, it was replaced in the early 2000s for another International Space Station, alright? Now, International Space Station, that's why it's called international, alright? There are French, Germans, Americans, Russians, Israelis, Chinese, alright? So basically, no discrimination, alright? If it's international, you go into space and you work there. Very basic. Of course, it would happen, basically, yeah. Even though it was created and, put into space by the time the Soviet Union collapsed, well, technically it was a good spot, right? The U.S. and the Soviet Union, two countries that didn't really align with each other, working together for space. I mean, that's pretty good, am I right? Now, back a little bit to technology, right? We also had the improvement of, what is it? The invention of the search engine, specifically. Search engines were in the late 1980s, or 1988 to 1990. Now, in that time span also, one search engine was invented, Google. Alright, Google came to life. Now, nowadays, I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna search it. You don't say that. You say, I'm gonna Google it, which means that, it's been so big that now everybody uses it. Nowadays, everybody uses either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, but who cares? Now, back to the point, alright? There were also creations of, let's say, phones, right? Phones, light phones, alright? Not like the huge 20-pound phones that people had back in the day that were huge and had to be carried by 2 hands or one. Well, nowadays, phone fits in your pocket that you can buy stuff on, send emails on, and use Google on. So basically, it was everything in one. Nowadays, you don't have to, go straight to a PC just to search something or go to a PC to buy something. Now you need to, oh, hey, that's a pretty nice item. Send. Alright. See? Very simple. It's like a couple step process and it's very fast. So yeah, thank God. Now, the reason why technology was this advanced, right? We're gonna give some credit to Mr. Politician here, Al Gore, alright? He became the vice president in the early 2000s and he said that I created the internet. Well, he didn't really create it. He funded the creation of the internet, right? With the with Advanced Computer Technology Acts or something that Congress passed. He funded it mostly, so you could say he was the fundraiser for the internet, all right? Because obviously he did not make the internet. He is not skilled at technology and stuff. So yeah, in the end, in the 1980s, 1990s, there was a huge technological boom that to this day, it still keeps getting better. All right, so yeah. Thanks for listening to what I have to say. Goodbye. See you next time.